She stood in the driveway, tear-stained cheeks, hair mashed into a messy bun, swamped by a gigantic hoodie. She used to float through Coyote Pass like a queen. She was hardly recognizable today. Movers moved the last fragile pieces of a life she'd thought invincible to destruction, her home, her safety, her control. That evening, Robin Brown's well-rehearsed persona unraveled in broad daylight. The neighbors chatted. Cameras rolled. Millions of Sister Wives viewers watched in stunned silence as the result no one ever imagined came into being before their very eyes on the sidewalk. The surprise, this wasn't merely a vendetta. Decades of quiet were rewarded at last for Meri and Janelle Brown. And this time, there was no rumor. There was law. Within the courtroom, the ruling fell like a fallen brick. The Flagstaff residence Robin had so proudly flaunted around as the family heirloom, a product of deception's conveyances, decreed the court. The court didn't just take the house away, it tore away the illusion. Robin's face turned pale. Cody's shoulders slumped. Both men were speechless. Reality had finally come, and it rested on them like an anvil. Hello all, I'm Spala, and you're watching Sister Wives Underground. If you've been following this family as long as I have, you understand that this is more than a home. It's one of power, control, and betrayal, and finally, responsibility. Because let's be real, Robin and Cody weren't blindsided. They were having a meltdown they thought they were above. Meri and Janelle didn't walk away. They turned, stood, and lashed back. Hard. So tune in before we get into it on how it all went down. Subscribe if you're looking for the tea on reality TV's truth. And let me know in the comments, did Robin ever realize this was coming, or was she too entrenched in her own bubble to expect it? Let's return to 2010. Robin's introduction was presented like a fairy tale, soft focus, wide eyes, spiritually profound, with subtle charm. TLC advertised the romance big time, Cody going hours out of his way just to steal a glimpse of her, over-the-top proposal, the other wives clenching their teeth. But the cracks were already starting to appear. Something changed from the start. When Robin came into the fold, the gravity center of the family changed. Cody even mentioned that she made him feel as if he were falling in love for the first time all over again. That wasn't a nice cliché line, it was a warning. As the years passed, Robin became the emotional hub of the family. For Janelle and Meri, it was a gradual push to the margins of their own marriage. Meri, the first wife, the one who'd lived through every high and low, was silently nudged out of the way. Janelle, practical and intuitive, observed how more and more decisions were made based on a new king and queen situation, with them both excluded. Next was the blow of the law. Meri divorced Cody in 2014 so Robin could marry him legally and gain rights for her children. On paper, it was chivalrous. In real life, it stung. From there on out, Robin wasn't only the newest wife, she was the one with the legal authority, the perks, and, gradually, the cash. Money problems started occurring behind closed doors. Houses were sold. Trust was lost. While Coyote Pass property was being fought for within the family, Robin pretended ignorance, but in secret her own home had already been acquired while others were waiting in line. And her greatest diabolical play, emotional chess. Crying during every interrogation. Gentle, quiet words that evaded responsibility. Steps so low-key, they felt like submission almost, except you noticed that each one culminated in Robin on top. Always shocked, always hurt, Robin mastered the skill of being the victim every time the other wives would even have the audacity to speak out. Meri and Janelle were more and more being presented as aggressive, even when they were simply requesting equality. Viewers started noticing the favoritism wasn't only in the feelings, it was in the system. Money, time, attention, respect. Cody spent it all on Robin. And Robin, with her humble looks, never denied it. That's where the resentment ceased to smolder and began to boil. Meri and Janelle sat in silence for years, attempting to hold the family together while their emotional well-being and economic security disintegrated, one Robin-advised decision at a time. But there is a time limit on silence. When at last they did shatter it, no slamming doors, no shouty arguments. There were lawyers. The second that Meri and Janelle entered an attorney's office, overnight the entire game shifted. No longer were emotions involved. Facts now, assets, and the paper trail that Cody had left behind. Since it just so happened that the preacher of togetherness was secretly trading in properties beyond understanding and into Robin's grasp, while his first wives were fighting to get their freedom. The court records were dynamite. Cody had sent huge amounts of family money, like that enormous Flagstaff home, straight into Robin. And when a forensic accountant tugged on the string, the entire web of cash unwound. Paperless transactions. Never-existent co-signatures. Fishy bank activity just prior to Robin's home being bought. The proof wasn't merely incriminating, it was conclusive. The judge labeled it for what it was, fraud intent. A deliberate effort to hide assets from Meri and Janelle. And at its heart was the $1 million Flagstaff mansion, a house, but a representation of years of preferential treatment, disparity, and denial. When the judge ordered the home to be taken and sold, proceeds to Meri and Janelle, the courtroom was stunned. Robin was stunned. Cody appeared as if the floor had been pulled out from under his feet, because it had. Headlines on the newspapers blazed, Cody and Robin lose mansion in court ruling. Social media blew up. Robin's sympathy she had stored up for so many years shattered almost overnight. For Janelle and Meri, this was no payoff. This was confirmation. A court imprimatur on what they'd suffered in silence for so long, that this was not a working family, but a grossly imbalanced arrangement that had asked too much of too many for too long. Judgment Day came. And Eviction Day had a taste that was the ultimate curtain call. Cameras weren't permitted inside, but the show did get to film the aftermath. The drive was covered in boxes, their sides scribbled up in Sharpie, kitchen, legal papers, don't lose. Movers worked around Robin, who stood there, wearing that great big sweatshirt, her makeup smeared on her face, watching her privilege disintegrate box by box under masking tape. She'd been shielded once, wrapped up in Cody's protection. Now that was gone, packed with the broken glass of the life she'd considered indestructible. Neighbors looked through slats of blinds. Others whispered behind fences. One woman, on camera with producers but off microphone, unleashed, "I never liked the attitude when she arrived," she said. "She acted like we didn't exist. Now, look at her." It wasn't schadenfreude, it was a community witnessing a fall from grace, the kind you'd expect from scripted television, except this was real. A reality show wrapped in courtroom drama, unfolding in the streets of Flagstaff. Robin didn't fight back in court. She fought online. Her social media flared with shaky, tear-stained videos taken from her vehicle. She ranted of betrayal, of sacrifice, of everything she'd sacrificed. She had a brief window of support from a few fans who leaned in and felt sorry for her. But that fire burned out. And then there were the footage that shattered her public persona forever. Robin, crying on camera, complaining about the price of bread, sporting a Cartier watch that cost her an estimated $7,000. The internet had lost all reason. Pity turned into mockery. Meri and Janelle, however, did not need to say anything. Instagram did everything. Meri tweeted a wicked, clever smile on her and stares with the caption simply reading, "Some things just belong to the universe." The floodgate of comments ensued, mentioning Robin and going all the way back to her earlier episodes. Janelle tweeted a picture of 2 coffee mugs clinking against each other on a marble countertop. The caption? "Peace tastes like this." Even TLC appeared to take sides. Official Facebook posts now revolved around Meri and Janelle, and Robin quietly disappeared into the shadows. Brand sponsors no longer included her. And Cody? He couldn't cope. Production staff would say he hardly shot anymore, avoided the crew, and roamed Flagstaff late at night. Paparazzi caught him sitting outside restaurants at 2 a.m., gazing at the dashboard, never entering. The man who once bellowed about guarding his family now appeared to be guarding nothing, not even himself. Robin's grip came crashing down on all sides. Emotionally, she lost her authority. Publicly, she was ridiculed. Financially, she was ruined. For the first time ever in Sister Wives history, Meri and Janelle were not shadow dwellers, she towered above ever. But behind the scenes, the network was performing its own math. TLC had observed the lawsuits, the backlash from fans, and the decline in ratings each time Robin appeared on camera. She wasn't an asset anymore, she was a liability. And so they offered Cody something. Not exactly in so many words, but the implication couldn't have been clearer: hold on to the show, or hold on to her. If he'd film a reconciliation story with his former wives, Meri, Janelle, and even Christine, he'd still be the face of a new rebuilding season. But Robin? Not a chance. The camera would cut to the women she'd pushed aside. It took Cody days to come to a decision. But when your bills are past due, your lost mansion's gone, and a legal crisis follows you wherever you go, money yells louder than duty. One morning, early dawn in their rent kitchen, he sat down at the table with the contract in front of him. Robin looked up barely, puffy eyes, tangled hair. "You don't have to do this," she whispered. "Yes," he spoke softly, "I do." He signed. And in that second, 10 years of commitment were reduced to scribbles of ink. Robin snapped, not only because Cody picked the show, but because at that moment, it was inevitable. Her space had always been temporary. Her command had always been usurped. So in a gesture no one could have anticipated, she went to the last person everyone ever thought she'd reach out to: Christine. The wife who once, she stood on the driveway, cheeks smeared with tears, hair loose in a messy bun, buried in an oversized hoodie. She once rode Coyote Pass like a queen. Now she was hardly recognizable. Movers beside her ripped away the last tenuous bits of a life she'd felt impenetrable: her home, her safety, her authority. That day, the well-rehearsed public image of Robin Brown disintegrated before our very eyes. Neighbors gabbed. Cameras rolled. Millions of viewers of Sister Wives sat glued, aghast, as the unthinkable conclusion no one saw coming played out right there in front of us on the sidewalk. But the twist is this: this wasn't an individual grudge that went wrong. Years of holding their tongues at last came back to haunt Meri and Janelle Brown. And it wasn't rumor this time. It was legal. Within the courthouse, the decision fell with the force of a falling brick. The Flagstaff residence Robin had long referred to as the gem of the household, its yield of unlawful transfers, held the court. The court did not merely seize the house, it seized away the fantasy. Robin blanched. Cody shrugged his shoulders. Both of them said nothing. The truth had come, and it crashed down with the force of a sledgehammer. Hello, all, and I'm Spala, and you're watching Sister Wives Underground. If you've been with this family as long as I have, you'll recognize that this is a story greater than a house. This is a story of betrayal, power, and control, and finally, accountability. Because make no mistake, Robin and Cody weren't blindsided. They were in the middle of a meltdown they felt they were above. Meri and Janelle did not stroll. They spun, stood their ground, and fought back. Hard. So let's get into how it all began before we continue. Give subscribe if you want the uncensored reality about reality TV. And comment below, did Robin have this coming, or was she too caught up in her own bubble to notice? Let's go back in time to 2010. Robin's introduction came in fairy tale style, sweet, innocent, devoted to a fault, with quiet magic emanating from her. TLC hyped the romance up big time, Cody going out of his way for hours just to get a glimpse of her, over-the-top proposals, the other wives grinding their teeth through forced smiles. But here and there, the cracks were beginning to emerge. Something was off from the start. The instant Robin was brought into the family, the center of gravity for the family started to move. Cody took it even further, stating that she made him feel as though he'd fallen in love with her all over again for the first time. That was not a sweet platitude, what it was a warning. As time went on, Robin became the emotional center of the family. For Meri and Janelle, it was as though they were gradually pushed onto the periphery of their own marriage. Meri, the original wife, the one who'd shared in each of the family's highs and lows, was gradually pushed out of the way. Janelle, solid and observant, noticed that decisions increasingly centered around a new king and queen paradigm, one that didn't involve either of them. Then there was the legal slap. In 2014, Meri divorced Cody so that Robin could marry him for real and get rights for her kids. On paper, it was noble. But in life, it wounded. From then on, Robin wasn't merely the new wife. She had the legal rights, the perks, and, gradually, the money. Financial decisions were made secretly. Property was sold. Trust was eroded. When the family fought over the Coyote Pass land, Robin was an innocent act, but behind the friendly smile, her own house was already on the market while the others awaited in suspense. Always offended, always shocked, Robin mastered the art of playing the victim whenever the other wives had the temerity to gripe. Gradually, Meri and Janelle found themselves defined as argumentative, even when all they were seeking was a sense of equity. Viewers came to understand the favoritism wasn't only emotional, it was institutional. Money, time, attention, respect. Cody gave all of it to Robin. And Robin, no matter how humble her station, never uttered the word no. That's where the fury ceased simmering and began to boil. Meri and Janelle said nothing for years, attempting to uphold the family bond as their economic stability and mental well-being deteriorated, one Robin-sanctioned choice at a time. But silence does have an expiration date. When they did finally shatter it, no shouting matches, no locked doors. There were attorneys. The instant Meri and Janelle ventured into a law firm, the game changed overnight. It was no longer an emotional game. It was facts, assets, and the paper trail Cody had left behind. For the man who proclaimed oneness had secretly transferred property, out of sight, out of mind, and into Robin's possession, just when his first wives were gaining independence. The court records were dynamite. Cody had steered massive chunks of family money, including that gargantuan Flagstaff house, directly into Robin's pocket. And when a forensic accountant tugged on the thread, the whole money web came apart. No paperwork transfers. Lost co-signatures. Secretive bank deals just as Robin's house was bought. The proof wasn't just incriminating, it was irrefutable. The judge decided it what it was, fraudulent intent. The deliberate attempt to hide assets from Meri and Janelle. And at the heart of it all was that million-dollar Flagstaff mansion, more than just property, but a symbol of years of favoritism, disparity, and denial. When the judge decreed the house be confiscated and sold at auction, money redirected to Meri and Janelle, the courtroom fell silent. Robin bristled. Cody looked like he'd been punched in the gut because he had. Headlines flared. Cody and Robin lose mansion in court ruling. Social media erupted. The sympathy Robin had ridden for decades melted away overnight. To Meri and Janelle, the payment wasn't about the cash. It was about validation. Legal acknowledgement of everything they'd been keeping so quietly for so long, that this was not a working family, but an uneven arrangement which had cost too much for far too long. The day of reckoning had finally come. And the eviction day carried with it the atmosphere of the final curtain. Cameras were prohibited, but the show documented the cleanup. There were boxes on the driveway, the sides of which were scrawled with Sharpie, kitchen, legal papers, don't lose. Movers were forced to navigate around Robin, who was standing there in that huge hoodie, mascara streaking her cheeks, observing her privilege erode one taped box at a time. Shed once been protected, coddled by Cody. Now it was lost, buried with the final reminders of the life Shed believed unbreakable. Gawkers gazed behind blinds. Opinion makers murmured behind fences. One woman, out of sight to the producers, had no qualms. I never did care for how she behaved when she arrived. She behaved as if we weren't present. Now, look at her. It wasn't cruelty. It was reality, witnessing a public figure shatter. Robin didn't battle in the courtroom. She battled online. Her Twitter erupted in shaky, tear-streamed videos taken from inside her vehicle. She cried about sacrifice. About betrayal. About all that she had given up. Initially, a tiny corner of fans reached out in empathy. But that flame did not endure. Then there was the video that ruined her public reputation for good. Robin, sobbing on television, griping about how much bread cost. Sporting a Cartier bracelet on which some $7,000 were resting. The internet lost what little patience it had left. Sympathy gave way to ridicule. And then silence from Meri and Janelle. Instagram was their voice. Meri uploaded a keen, informed smile on the steps of her bed and breakfast with the caption simply reading, "Some things just belong to the universe." The comments section erupted, tagging Robin and calling back to her back shows at her. Janelle uploaded an image of two coffee mugs colliding with each other on a marble top. The caption? "Peace tastes like this." Even TLC appeared to take sides. Official messages now centered on Meri and Janelle, while Robin merely disappeared from view. Brand sponsors ceased mentioning her altogether. And Cody? He couldn't cope. Production company insiders speculated that he barely shot anymore, avoided the crew, and roamed Flagstaff late at night. Paparazzi caught him idling outside restaurants at 2 a.m., gazing at the dashboard, never going in. Robin's authority fell apart on all fronts. She was emotionally out of control. She was ridiculed publicly. She was financially ruined. It was the first time in Sister Wives history that Meri and Janelle weren't lurking in the background. She was standing taller than ever. But off camera, the network was doing some calculus of its own. The network had witnessed the lawsuits, the fan backlash, and the ratings drop every time Robin appeared on camera. She was no longer an asset, she was a liability. So they made Cody an offer. Not so much said, but the meaning was as transparent as it could be: keep the show, or keep her. If he was going to do a reconciliation arc with his ex-wives, Meri, Janelle, and even Christine, he'd still be the lead of a new rebuilding season. But Robin? Absolutely not. It took Cody days to make up his mind. But when your bills are past due, your mansion is gone, and a court catastrophe trails you everywhere, money screams louder than loyalty. It was morning, the pale light of their rented kitchen, and he sat down across from him with the contract. Robin barely looked up, her eyes puffed, her hair disheveled. "You don't have to do this," she whispered. "Yes," he said softly, "I do." He signed. And that was it, a decade of devotion condensed into a handful of swipes of dark ink. Robin cracked, not only because Cody selected the show, but because in that instant, it was irrefutable. Her position had always been forever momentary. Her authority had consistently been borrowed. So in a gesture no one would ever have anticipated, she approached Christine, the wife who had labeled her manipulative once. Christine had her motive. Cody had double-crossed her as well. And he was still dwelling on the illusion the show had induced him to harbor in denial of. When they had their clandestine sit-down, Christine pushed a padded envelope across the table. What lay within? Log tape, leaked production memos, and transcripts of Cody going on about his children, bad-mouthing the crew, and telling off-camera producers that only Robin deserved fame. "Why are you doing this for me?" Robin asked. Christine didn't blink. "Because I want him gone as much as you do." Weeks later, the tape leaked. Entertainment media were buzzing with videos of Cody yelling at producers, referring to family members as dead weight, and insisting that contracts are for fools. Overnight, the image of the devoted plural husband went up in flames. TLC won ratings gold. With the court fight over, the social media craze, and Cody's reputation in shreds, they staged the Brown Family Truth Summit, a multi-day, on-camera confrontation in Sedona, shot with therapy circles, overhead cameras, and no exit. They all had to pack up and take their paychecks or leave. Robin hemmed and hawed. Cody was livid. But they came. They needed the check. Day 1 was cold but courteous. Courtesies lasted through day 2. Cursing and yelling were heard. Years of anger emerged. Christine played tapes of Cody screaming at Meri that she wasn't even worth shooting anymore. Meri, with a razor-sharp blazer on, just smiled, half ice, half victory. Janelle continued with bank statements reporting Cody diverted family money into Robin's accounts. The tone changed. Then it was Robin's turn. "Did you know the others weren't getting their share?" the host inquired. Robin hung her head. "I didn't think I had a right to question it." Christine laughed. "You always had a right. You just didn't care." On the last day, it all came out. Janelle called Cody out for using loyalty as a weapon. Christine revealed his manipulation of TLC to position Robin as a constant victim. And Meri put the icing on the cake with one sentence. You smiled in with a smile and a knife. Cody tore off his mic and stormed off. Cameras followed Robin running after him in tears. In real life, her last desperate attempt to maintain the mansion faltered. Sheriffs showed up with the notice of repossession. The last remnant of her old existence faded away. A year later, Cody and Robin went from being the focus to backdrops. Robin folded silently. Cody slammed doors off stage, cursing treachery. In her final confession, Robin gasped softly, I thought keeping quiet would protect me. I thought that love would be enough. But her eyes told otherwise, resignation. The jig was up. Meri and Janelle signed documents to give them joint ownership of what was left. Comebacks were not needed. The truth was its own justification. They had their dignity, their freedom, their tranquility. Cody and Robin had nothing but outstanding bills and silence. They believed they were above that. But the truth survived them. The deleting was accomplished. And this time, the cameras were not on Robin.